Hello and welcome to The Man Who Kept Dying. In today's video, I would like to do a chapter in depth of chapter 16 in the novel The Man Who Kept Dying. If you've read the novel, by the way, I don't say it often enough, but the best gift you could do to myself is to leave a review on Amazon. And especially if you liked it, even if you didn't like it, be honest. I will read all the reviews, but it does really help with pushing the book a bit more. Back to the novel, chapter 16. There are 30 chapters in the book, and chapter 16 roughly is halfway through the novel. If you've followed all the chapter in-depth video, you will know that by that point, Mika has met with his guardian angel, Mika has met with his guides, and he's been exposed, or he's been explained, many concepts from the metaphysical world and how actually physical life operates. Mika is constantly arguing that it's very difficult for him to, or for any human for that matter, to actually be aware of all the concepts that the metaphysical side has devised for the physical side, because once you're in the physical side, you have no memory of them. So how can you remember how to operate gracefully in that new physical environment if you have no memory of the setup that was built or the parameters, just to get the most positive experience out of the physical environment itself? So there's a lot of back and forth in the novel with regards to that. The guides, gosh, it's raining again like crazy. I'll show you that for a sec. All day, almost every day, it's been like that. It's crazy. Let me just adjust the focus again. So, where was I, aside from being disturbed by this constant rain? It feels like I never got out of winter, aside from wearing lighter clothes, but gosh, like 3 days of sunshine, 5 days of rain. Anyway, back to the chapter. I stopped moaning about the weather. Hopefully, soon enough, I'll be doing videos where I'll be telling you that it's all well and good and we have summery weather. Chapter 16, Density. Yes, the guides are explaining to Mika that essentially the metaphysical side is constantly communicating with any, so to speak, incarnated soul, so that be you, I, anyone, any animal, anything actually. There is that constant communication between physical and non-physical. How the spirit world operates, and by the way, when I say spirit world or metaphysical, they are the same, they're one and the same to me. The spirit side constantly sends guidance. That's why we have guides. At least that's how I've chosen to present it in the novel itself. That's why we have a guardian angel. And basically, they're trying to send subtle messages about how to perceive or to pay attention about certain elements in life, because these elements are important to us. One such element that is reminded to Mika is the fact that when he was quite young, Mika had a recurring dream that was reminding him that the spirit side did exist. And Mika, when being presented with the dream, really does not understand the relation or the parallel between the physical side and the spirit side. That dream, as you would have guessed, is a dream I had when I was a child. And it was a recurring dream. I had 2 recurring dreams when I was a child. The first one, I've said it on multiple podcasts, is about death itself. Basically, I was dreaming that I was an adult and I was in quite a big city. It was nighttime. I was being chased by a group of people, like 5, 6 or 6 to 8 different people. And I'm running and I'm running for my life. I'm trying to escape them. And I find myself in a dead end, like a small alleyway. There's no way to escape, like there's a big wall. I turn around and this group sort of gang me up, and they basically take guns and they start shooting at me. I remember in those dreams I'm sort of panicking, like I'm about to die. There's no escaping this. And what I try to do is I always have this sensation of lifting off from the ground and start to see things from above. And I'm like, ha 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 ha, I'm escaping that situation, that's great, like they can't kill me. But as I look down, I also and always see my dead body, and those people still shooting at my dead body. And then I would wake up. And those dreams were taking place when I was 4 to 7 years old, or 4 to 8 years old, so quite a violent dream for a kid that age, I would find. The other recurring dream was not about death. It was about what I've labeled the chapter density. This dream used to drive me absolutely crazy because I would wake up with a headache or a throbbing sensation in my head each and every time I had this dream. This specific dream always started the same way. I would see a slope that is quite gravelly, so lots of little tiny rocks. And there is that massive rock that is just like very light, and in a way it bounces around and it goes down the slope like bouncing around. And I'm looking at it thinking like, it's a huge rock that should weigh like tons, that should not be, or hundreds of kilograms, that should not be moving that easily. And as it moves down the slope, it actually like becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. It sort of densifies itself. But as it becomes smaller to the size of the other rocks around it, instead of becoming lighter, it becomes heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And I can feel that sensation of something very large, very light, very airy, that becomes something so tiny, so concentrated, so pulsated in a way, and so strong but dense at the same time. Even just mentioning that dream right now is still making me recall the exact sensation and not being at ease with it. And that little rock is just like all the other rocks. They don't seem to be that dense or that solid, but that rock that I'm perceiving, that particular one, is just so dense. And at that moment, in that particular dream, I would wake up. And again, it was a recurring dream I've had for years when I was a child. I tried to explain it to my parents, or I shared it with my parents. They tried to reassure me, of course, saying, it's a dream, it may have, a meaning, but it's difficult to tell. And in a way also, it's kind of not making really sense, because you think like if it's a large rock, it's going to be heavy. If it's a small rock, it's going to be light. When the opposite is actually happening. I never thought about that dream again until I said to myself that I was going to include it in the novel. The reason it came back to mind when I was writing the novel was because I wanted to highlight the difference between, apparently, or from the own experience I've had through my near-death experience, and also countless records of people, of the spirit side being much lighter, and actually your soul in a way having more than just you as experiences, what we refer to as lifetimes. And you being there in that physical reality, in that physical density, watching this video and feeling that everything is heavy around you. So if I slam my hand in my face, I'm going to feel it. So I can't walk through a wall, whereas apparently in spirit form there are places where it's doable. What happened to me actually when I decided to insert that recurring dream I had as a child in the novel was the realization that actually maybe it was a message that was being sent to me, and maybe there was an analogy there for understanding the light density, so to speak, of the spirit side to the more condensed experience we have as humans. Of course, as a kid, I could not make sense of it. And how could have I? And even if I had, that would still have been a very strange dream. And I'm not sure it would have really helped me in the slightest with my life. So when Mika's guides are explaining to him that the reason for the reason for this specific dream was them sending him a message about the fact that his experience was only a part of something much, much, much larger, of course, Mika doesn't take it lightly. He thinks like the spirit side is completely effed up, because No one's ever going to be able to understand the messages received from the spirit side. Those messages are just so subtle. So how can everyone just understand what these are? And having a dream at such a young age as well, for him made no sense because he was too young to remember it. Nobody could explain it to him. So why, how would the dream even be useful for him? And therefore he really starts questioning the guidance of the guides and the human experience itself, and why the spirit side is just like so unwilling to share more information. The guides go on to explain that it's not as easy as that, and there's a choice as well that is made in terms of communication, and in a way, when choosing a physical form, such as a human life, a desire to disconnect a bit from that spirit side, and in a way not to have so much interference from it, just enough guidance to keep you on your track, keep you on the right road, but not much more than that. And it's like a theme that I've really explored in the novel. For me, you see, when I discovered a lot about spiritual aspects, metaphysical aspects, and so on, even going through my own death, when I had my near-death experience, and even through my understanding of reality today, I will be very honest with you, I find it very tiring. It's like maybe I've really spent more than 1,000 lifetimes on this planet, or I've got all this wealth of experience. I am tired at times of it. I think like, yes, things can really go well. You can manifest things, you can, create a lot of things or good things happening in your life. Have a positive outlook on life, and you notice that life is really positive around you. Choose to see things in a positive perspective or through a positive prism. And again, lots of things will happen. But you will still experience negative things. And that's the notion of polarity, that's the notion of duality, which Mika is questioning a lot. And what I've done is I've really used Mika as a prop, as the main character of the novel, to sort of really have, in French we would say, a coup de gueule or a gueulante, which basically means like a big moan and really be angry or express your anger in an angry manner and in a shouty manner, I shall say, to the universe. And it was a way of saying like, imagine if you had this opportunity to really have that conversation with the spirit side face to face. Maybe as humans, or maybe it's just my perspective, and I've chosen to translate it in the format of a novel, I would have quite a few critics to make about the experience, or there are quite a few things I would like to point out are not to my liking, at least, maybe to yours, but I guess there are more and more people on this planet, and collectively there seems to be like, I wouldn't want to call it an awakening, but a question from people saying like, the structure of society has to change, the structure of the financial system has to change, the structure of education, the healthcare system, politics, governments, should support people and not take from people. All those things, corruption, we don't want that anymore. There seems to be like a lot more appetite for people to see a more positive reality around them. So I guess there is, those elements of the experience going through that. But nonetheless, don't you wake up some mornings feeling really tired from the experience? Maybe you don't, and absolutely happy for you if that's the case. But I do, quite frequently. And I'm not talking about being down, I'm just saying like looking at the experience from a very neutral way and thinking, gosh, I'm really tired, I have to go through that again today. But there are other mornings when I would just wake up and be really chuffed, really happy, really cheerful, really positive and say, everything's going to be fine. As I've said in different videos, I'm a glass half full person. So I only expect positive outcomes. I only try to see the positive or seek the positive in any situation, including when I had my NDE and when I was spending a few days in hospital, not knowing if I would survive. I was only focusing my attention on a positive outcome. That's not to say you should ignore the negative. It's just to say, I know it's there, it's not my preference. However, that's the dynamic of the novel, if you like, where Mika is really defending humanity and arguing with the spirit side of saying, okay, all your concepts, they're all nice and good. You're telling me a very lovely story. But deep down, when you're in human form, it's not that freaking easy. So stop telling me that it's easy because this, because that. That dream, when I was a child, how did you want me to understand the concept, you would have to be really more plain about it. And the guides, of course, will reply that the communication is tailored to the needs of Mika at the time, and that's the best way of communicating with him they had found. And by making the dream a recurring one, to really anchor that element that was really present, that pay attention to that. It's not a dream you're having only once, it's a dream that's coming back. And that is one of the many ways, of spirit communication. Can be through dreams, can be through whispers, can be through intuitions, can be through just an idea, a thought, or an energy, a dynamic, a feeling, something you feel. So we cover all that through the novel, but I really wanted to highlight that dynamic between Mika really taking like the stance of saying you need to do better if you want humanity to be better. You can't criticize humans from the spirit side when you haven't really fully experienced what it's like to be human. And even if you did, you know what it's like to be in our shoes and how difficult it is. So either we need to change something about the setup, or you need to stop telling me, as Mika, that it's easy and that I'm missing the point. So there you are, the real story behind chapter 16, and a bit more of the dynamic behind the novel, because you reach the halfway point of the novel at that moment, and it really is when the novel really shifts. And I didn't intend to write it this way, but essentially it's like there are 2/3 to the novel and there's a halfway point. Once you get past this halfway point, through this specific chapter, chapter 16, Mika gets more and more uneasy about the explanations he is being given, and he starts to question them more and more and more, until he reaches a certain point of understanding where it starts to make sense to him. But I won't say more. We'll cover more in subsequent in-depth video on those chapters. As usual, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. The rain has stopped, but the sun has not come back, so hopefully next time I'm recording a few videos, it'll be a sunny weather. In any case, I hope there's sunshine where you are. I hope there is sunshine where you are. I should stop talking about the weather. I'm a Frenchman living in France, but there you can see I've spent too many years living in the United Kingdom, and the weather is a recurring topic when you talk to people. So there you are, that's the reason why. Anyway, I wish you, everyone around you, a really excellent day, evening, night, whatever time it is for you when you're watching this video. I'm sending you all my love, and I wish nothing but goodness and happiness to everybody. Love you, and until next time, of course, be conscious, my friends.